The Starship Elysium glided silently through the endless black of space, a shining beacon of human achievement and mystery. For decades, the galaxy had whispered stories about this ship, the first of its kind to carry the pride of humanity across the stars. Its most famous feature was the energy barrier that wrapped around it like an invisible fortress. No alien had ever passed through it. Scientists, explorers, and even diplomats from countless worlds had tried, but the barrier held firm, blocking every attempt without fail. The crew on board Elysium had grown used to this strange protection, a shield that seemed almost alive, reacting to every alien presence with an unyielding force. Captain Mira Jensen stood on the bridge, staring out at the distant stars, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. The barrier was more than just technology. It was a symbol, a sign that humanity was not to be underestimated or crossed. Yet rumors spread in the Galactic Council about cracks forming in human alliances, threats rising from species jealous or afraid of human power. The tension was thick, and every beep from the sensors on the bridge set nerves on edge. That day, as Elysium approached a newly discovered star system, the ship's security system suddenly detected a presence unlike any before. The energy field flickered ever so slightly, a tremor that no one could explain. The crew held their breath, eyes locked on the readings. Could the barrier be weakening? Was something out there powerful enough to challenge humanity's greatest defense? Captain Jensen felt a shiver run down her spine as the ship's alarms quietly hummed in the background. Outside, the star system seemed calm, but inside Elysium, unease spread like wildfire. Every officer prepared for the worst, their fingers hovering over controls, their hearts pounding. They had been trained for many dangers, but nothing had prepared them for the possibility that no alien could enter their ship until now. The air was thick with suspense, and the starship's fate hung on a knife's edge as an unknown force began to move closer, ready to test the limits of the barrier and the humans who relied on it. The Starship Elysium had barely settled into orbit around the lush green planet named Talaris IV when the unexpected happened. The planet's surface sparkled below with vast forests and winding rivers, a sight that brought a rare moment of calm to the crew. Captain Mira Jensen watched carefully from the bridge, her eyes scanning every sensor reading. Then, the silence was shattered by an alarm. A strange life form had been detected approaching the ship. The readings were unlike anything the science officers had seen before. It was not a common alien species. Something was different, and the tension on the ship grew instantly. The barrier that had protected the Elysium for so long started to flicker faintly, a subtle disturbance that no one understood. Mira ordered her team to prepare for contact, instructing the communication officers to open a channel. Outside, a small craft moved cautiously toward the starship, its shape unfamiliar and strange. The ship's sensors tried to identify it, but the readings were confusing and inconclusive. The crew held their breath as the small vessel moved closer, until it stopped just at the edge of the energy barrier. Then, without warning, something even more surprising occurred. The barrier flickered again and opened, allowing the craft to pass through. The entire crew stared in disbelief. No alien had ever crossed the shield before, and now one had entered Elysium's protected space without difficulty. Captain Jensen's heart pounded. Orders were given to send a team to meet this visitor, but a mixture of fear and curiosity filled the air. When the hatch opened, the figure that stepped out was unlike any known alien form. Standing tall, with sleek silver-blue skin that shimmered faintly in the ship's lights, was a being with large, intelligent eyes that seemed to hold a deep sadness. This was a Valorian, a species that was rumored but never confirmed to exist in this sector of space. The visitor moved carefully, hands raised in peace. Despite the ancient barriers and tensions between humans and aliens, this being showed no fear. Dr. Ethan Rhodes, the ship's xenobiologist, was the first to approach. His hands trembled as he offered a small medical kit to the stranger, who accepted it gently. The air in the room was thick with a mixture of awe and anxiety. No one knew if the Valorian was friend or foe. Communications specialists worked quickly to decode the strange vocal patterns and gestures. Slowly, a rough understanding formed, and the Valorian introduced himself as Kyle. Kale explained through a combination of words and images that his people had watched humanity from afar for centuries and had finally made contact because of a shared destiny they believed humans and Valorians had. Captain Jensen listened carefully, her mind racing with questions. Why had the barrier allowed Kyle to pass? How did he know about the Elysium and its secrets? The crew was divided. Some were eager to welcome this new alliance, hoping to learn from the Valorians, while others feared betrayal and possible sabotage. Meanwhile, strange things began happening on the ship. The energy barrier, once steady and reliable, showed signs of instability. Systems fluctuated, and some sensors went offline without explanation. The crew worked around the clock to diagnose the problem, while Kyle remained calm and cooperative, offering to assist in understanding the ship's technology. Dr. Rhodes grew fascinated by Kale's biology and his strange relationship with the ship's energy. He hypothesized that the Valorian was somehow linked to the barrier, but he had no proof. Days passed with tension growing thick, but a cautious trust began to form between humans and Kale. Just when hope seemed to return, the ship's warning systems blared the barrier was weakening rapidly, and the Elysium was vulnerable. The crew scrambled to stabilize the field, but it was clear that only Kyle might have the knowledge to fix it. Captain Jensen faced a difficult choice: trust the alien who had breached their defenses, or risk losing the Starship entirely. As the seconds ticked away, the fate of the Elysium and its crew rested on an uneasy alliance that could either lead to disaster or the next great leap in humanity's journey among the stars. As the Elysium drifted in the silent void near Talaris, the tension aboard the ship deepened, the fragile peace hanging by a thread. Captain Mira Jensen paced her quarters, her mind spinning with questions she could not yet answer. The arrival of Kyle, the Valorian who had passed through the impenetrable barrier, had shattered long-held beliefs and stirred fear among the crew. Many feared the alien presence could weaken their defenses or betray humanity to unknown enemies. Meanwhile, deep in the ship's science labs, Dr. Ethan Rhodes worked tirelessly, driven by curiosity and a growing fascination with Kale's biology. He had spent hours examining the Valorians' tissues, their cellular structure, and the strange energy signatures that seemed to surround him. Ethan noticed that Kale's cells contained an enzyme never before seen, a chemical that responded oddly to human DNA samples. This discovery sparked a new theory in Ethan's mind. The ship's energy barrier was not just a mechanical shield, but a living system somehow linked to humanity's genetic makeup. The barrier, he realized, was keyed to the unique molecular patterns found only in humans, which meant it actively recognized and protected its own species while blocking others. But why had Kale's biology allowed him through? Ethan hypothesized that the Valorian enzyme interacted with human proteins in a way that tricked the barrier's sensors, creating a kind of biological passport that allowed safe passage. If this was true, the barrier was more than a defense mechanism. It was a symbol of human uniqueness, a powerful evolutionary advantage no alien species had been able to overcome. Yet this revelation brought more questions than answers. How had Kyle come to carry this enzyme? Was it natural, or the result of long-hidden experimentation? And most importantly, could this biological key be used by others to breach human defenses? As Ethan shared his findings with Captain Jensen and the senior officers, the ship's atmosphere grew heavier. Some saw this as a chance for new alliances and deeper understanding between species, while others saw a threat and unknown vulnerability that could unravel everything humanity had built. Captain Jensen ordered a full investigation and careful monitoring of Kyle, but the alien remained calm, even cooperative, as if understanding the stakes better than anyone else. Days passed with mounting suspense as the Elysium moved quietly through space. Then, an unexpected event intensified the crisis. The energy barrier around the ship began to fluctuate wildly, dipping dangerously low before snapping back into place. Critical systems buzzed with warning lights, and the crew scrambled to contain the damage. At the center of this chaos, Ethan discovered a startling truth. The barrier's energy flow was responding not just to human DNA but to Kale's presence itself. Kale's biology seemed to influence the ship's shield, amplifying or weakening it at times. This connection was a mystery, but it suggested that the barrier and Kyle were linked on a level deeper than technology, a fusion of biology and energy that no one understood. As the ship's engineers worked frantically to stabilize the shield, rumors spread among the crew that Kyle might be a spy, a saboteur sent by enemy forces. Paranoia grew, and a faction of officers pushed for Kyle to be detained or expelled from the ship. Captain Jensen, however, resisted these calls, believing that Kyle's arrival was no accident and that understanding him was key to humanity's future in the galaxy. The situation reached a breaking point when a nearby hostile fleet was detected on an intercept course toward the Elysium. The enemy knew about the Starship's power and sought to capture it for their own dark purposes. With the barrier's stability in question, the crew prepared for battle, unsure if their defenses would hold. In a desperate move, Captain Jensen turned to Kyle and Ethan for help. Together, they devised a plan to use the mysterious biological link to the barrier to create a new kind of defense, one that could adapt in real time to threats by merging human technology with Kyle's unique energy. The idea was risky, untested, and dangerous, but it was their only hope. As the enemy fleet closed in, the crew held their breath, watching the barrier flicker between strength and weakness. Ethan and Kyle worked side by side in the ship's control center, adjusting the shield's frequencies, syncing the aliens' biological energy with human engineering. Slowly, the barrier pulsed with renewed vigor, glowing brighter and stronger than ever before. The hostile ships were caught off guard, their attacks repelled by a defense they could not penetrate. The Elysium had survived, but the battle had changed everything. The crew realized that their strength lay not in isolation, but in cooperation between humans and aliens, between biology and technology. And at the center of this new future stood one human, Dr. Ethan Rhodes, whose curiosity and courage had unlocked a secret that could change the fate of humanity forever. The aftermath of the battle left the Starship, Elysium, buzzing with a tense energy that none on board could ignore. Captain Mira Jensen paced the command deck, feeling the weight of leadership heavier than ever. The enemy fleet had retreated, defeated by the new barrier powered by the unexpected alliance between human technology and Kyle's alien biology. But victory came with a price, a fragile peace that rested on trust none were sure they could give. The crew was divided. Some celebrated Kyle as a hero, the key to a new era where humans and aliens might work together, sharing knowledge and strength. Others whispered warnings, suspecting Kyle's true intentions, fearing that this stranger who passed through their once impenetrable barrier might yet betray them. Captain Jensen understood these fears. The barrier had been their shield for so long, a silent guardian born from humanity's very essence. To open it to an alien was to risk everything. Now, she had to decide, should Elysium embrace this chance for unity or close ranks to protect what was theirs alone? Kyle remained calm amid the tension, offering knowledge about his people's ancient lore and their hopes for peace. He spoke of a cosmic puzzle, a secret buried deep in the stars that only together could humans and Valorians solve. His words carried weight, and some officers found themselves drawn to his vision. Yet distrust simmered beneath the surface. During meetings and briefings, voices rose in argument, suspicion shadowing every glance. The ship's security chief demanded strict monitoring of Kyle, warning that any sign of deceit must be met with force. Meanwhile, Dr. Ethan Rhodes worked tirelessly to deepen the understanding of the barrier's connection to Kyle's biology. He believed that the key to both protection and progress lay in their collaboration, but every experiment brought new surprises and risks. Strange power surges rocked the ship, and subtle shifts in the barrier's strength hinted that the link was unstable. One night, the ship's sensors detected a covert transmission from a hidden enemy agent on a nearby moon, an enemy determined to capture Elysium and exploit its secrets. The crew's fears were realized. Opening the barrier had exposed them to new dangers. The captain convened an emergency meeting. The enemy was moving fast, and only unity could save them now. Kyle volunteered to lead a diplomatic mission to his homeworld, hoping to secure allies who could help defend the Elysium. Ethan supported the plan but warned that the mission's success depended on how well humans trusted Kyle and how well Kyle trusted them. The crew prepared, tensions high as the Starship launched toward unknown territory, carrying the fragile hopes of both species. As they neared Kyle's world, strange signals jammed their communications, and unexpected attacks tested their defenses. Paranoia spread. Was Kyle leading them into a trap? Or was this the true test of trust they had to pass? Captain Jensen stood firm, rallying her crew and reminding them that only through cooperation could they survive the threats closing in from all sides. In a daring move, Ethan and Kyle worked together to unlock a hidden power within the barrier, using their combined knowledge to shield the ship from incoming fire and outsmart the enemy's tactics. The success forged a bond between humans and Valorians aboard the Elysium that no suspicion could break. But the greatest test awaited them on Kyle's home planet, where ancient secrets and political dangers challenged the fragile alliance. There, Captain Jensen, Ethan, and Kyle had to prove that trust was stronger than fear, that the future of humanity depended on opening doors, not closing them. As the starship hovered over the alien world, the crew braced for what came next, knowing that the fate of more than one species now rested on their courage to trust. The Elysium hovered silently above the swirling clouds of Kale's homeworld, a planet both beautiful and strange, bathed in twin suns that cast golden light on unfamiliar forests and towering mountains. The crew had grown quiet, nerves stretched tight like strings about to snap. After days of tense negotiations and narrow escapes from political traps laid by rival factions within the Valorian society, Captain Mira Jensen stood on the bridge, watching as the first delegation approached the ship, an uneasy assembly of Valorian leaders and humans, all bound by a shared hope that the Alliance could survive. The danger was far from over. Across the galaxy, the hostile fleet that had once tried to capture the Elysium was gathering strength, readying for a new assault. Rumors whispered of traitors inside human ranks and spies hiding among the Valorians. Trust, still fragile, was their only weapon. In this crucible of tension, Dr. Ethan Rhodes and Kyle worked together to unlock ancient Valorian technology, a network of hidden stargates that could change the course of the war and open new pathways for humanity's expansion. Their combined knowledge was awe-inspiring, but it came with risks. Activating the gates required precise timing and cooperation, and any mistake could trigger a catastrophe that might destroy entire star systems. Meanwhile, Captain Jensen negotiated with leaders from both sides, pushing past centuries of mistrust and fear, urging them to see the strength in unity. She spoke not just as a commander, but as a bridge between two worlds. In the shadow of the alien suns, battles raged both in the stars and in the hearts of those aboard the Elysium. When the hostile fleet finally launched its attack, it was fiercer than anyone expected. The starship's barrier, now enhanced by the symbiotic link between human technology and Kale's biology, pulsed with brilliant light, deflecting blasts and sending waves of energy back to the enemy. Yet, the attackers were relentless, probing for weaknesses. The crew fought with courage and skill, but the enemy adapted quickly, forcing Elysium into a desperate defensive stance. In the heat of battle, Ethan and Kyle discovered a way to amplify the barrier's power by channeling the Valorian Stargate network. They risked everything to activate it, creating a massive energy field that trapped the enemy fleet in a temporary but inescapable prison of light. This bold move turned the tide of the battle, securing a stunning victory for humanity and its new allies. The aftermath brought cautious celebration. The Alliance had survived its toughest trial and grown stronger. The Stargates opened new frontiers for exploration, trade, and cooperation, promising a future where humans and aliens would face the universe together. Captain Jensen, standing on the observation deck, gazed at the stars ahead, bright and full of promise. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had proven that no barrier, no matter how strong, could stand against the courage and unity of those willing to trust. Humanity's place in the cosmos was no longer a secret guarded by walls, but a beacon shining across the stars, inviting all who dared to join in the adventure of the new frontier.